All right, so looks like I am live once again. Just wanted to answer some questions and talk about some new products that I've just posted on the website. And we'll see how long I can actually go this time before the YouTube app, as per normal, will very likely freeze up. And I apologize if there's some noise in the background right now. I'm heating up some water for some tea. So that's the noise you're hearing right now. And I'd say I'd give it probably 10 or 20 minutes before the YouTube app freezes. So anyways, it's been a while since I've done one of these, and I've just been pretty busy behind the scenes working on probably like 10 or 12 new products and overhauling current products that I have, working on a new website, new product photography, and in addition to training, 3, 4, 5 hours a day and trying to have a social life. So balancing quite a lot of things all at once. But what I want to do in this video is talk about a few of the new products specifically that I've just put back on the website. First off, the agarwood and sandalwood incense is back in stock. I just posted this up on the store, which is the Mysore sandalwood oil that some people have ordered and are just already getting their bottles, and so far the feedback has been good. So really, really nice oil. It lasts a long time on your skin. It lasts an even longer time on your clothes, and it has really, really profound, nice, calming, soothing qualities. So in addition to those things, there's also 2 new teas that I've just posted up. An 80s Leo Bao that is made from spring tips, and a 1980s raw pu'er that is made also from very high grade pure tips and pure buds. It's a really, really awesome tea. And the other product that I had mentioned a couple weeks ago was the Agar 35 formula, and I've just posted up the complementary formula to that called Simda. And Simda is really recommended to take alongside Agar 35 and really enhances and improves a lot of the benefits that the Agar 35 has to offer. And to be honest, it's been quite difficult to keep the Agar 35 even in stock. As soon as I get a batch in, it just sells out, and it's been selling really well. And the feedback I've been getting from people has been awesome. And it's a really solid formula. It really has helped me out a lot, and like all my friends are on it, and like now hundreds and hundreds of other new people and new customers are getting on it as well. But the Simda goes along with that formula quite well, and they really synergize. So the Agar 35 tends to target more of the heart, so more kind of anxiety and sleep related issues. And the Simda tends to target more of the lungs and the central channel, basically looking at heavy emotional debris, things like depression and sadness, which can really weigh someone down, and like a sense of heaviness and stagnation kind of around the lung area. And then also getting into the central channel where, core traumas can be stored. So to me, the Agar 35 and the Simda, alongside training and stuff that obviously I have been doing for many years, really, I think, has had a great effect on helping to break up some of these kind of core trauma issues and make some type of progress on certain emotional type things. And these formulas are unparalleled, and really there's no comparison to them that I've ever seen or tried in the past 12 years of being in this industry. So that's why I'm pretty stoked to be able to share them with you guys and with all my clients, and also just have it for myself first and foremost. So I've just put that up on the website as well, and if you just go to the homepage, all the new products will be listed right there. The 2 new teas, the sandalwood oil, the Simda, and the incense. So that'll all be up there. And I really recommend trying the Simda alongside the Agar 35 because they really go quite well together. And like I said, I've gotten really good feedback about the Agar 35. The only thing that I've heard from one or two people is they said they weren't really feeling it or noticing that much from it. So of course I asked them, well, how are you taking it? What are you doing? And they had just been swallowing the pills with meals. So I told them the way I recommend taking it is opening the capsule up in a little bit of hot water, drink it that way, and that tends to have a much more noticeable effect. So if you're doing the Simda and the Agar 35 and you really want to feel them more, I would say first thing in the morning on an empty stomach with a little bit of hot water, open 1 or 2 capsules up in there, drink that down that way, and that will be a lot more noticeable than just swallowing a capsule and kind of going about your day. The other option is, last thing in the evening before bed, doing the same thing, opening up some capsules in a little bit of hot water, drink that down, and both of those will typically yield more noticeable effects, let's say. Or honestly, sometimes what I do is just open the capsule up in my mouth, just pop it, open it up, and then either just mix it with my saliva and eat it, or rinse it with a little bit of hot water and wash it down. But I really like the taste of both of the formulas, and of course I like the taste of herbs and things of this nature anyway, so it's really no problem for me. But there is a lot to be said for actually tasting it and actually smelling it and actually getting the benefits from it that way. So like I said, the Simda will target more of depression, low mood, that kind of heaviness, or even seasonal affective disorder type things, which is obviously a good time to start taking it because in a lot of places they're getting less and less sunlight, and it's getting darker and darker as we're leading up to the winter solstice, which will be obviously the peak darkness of the wintertime. Especially up north where I am, it gets dark like 4:30. It starts getting dark at like 2:30, 3 p.m. It's kind of a weird sensation, and then by like 4:35 the latest, it's just done. So in order to, keep your mood up, it's a really great thing. So I highly recommend taking the Simda alongside the Agar 35. And actually I've gotten quite a lot of requests from a lot of people that had been taking the Agar 35 or wanting the Simda to go along with it. So finally got that going on. So again, just to recap, we have the sandalwood oil that I just posted up on the website, which is made from basically bead trimmings from high-grade Mysore sandalwood. And it was distilled by a collector that I know, and he has really amazing stuff, and he's been collecting for well over 30 years, which is how he's able to have such a big stock of high-grade sandalwood. Because, as a lot of people know, to export sandalwood from India, I think is actually not allowed now. It has to be some type of other product, and actual Mysore sandalwood is highly regulated, and there's a lot of fakes, a lot of phonies on the market. So what this is a pure distillation of high-grade oil, and then it's a 1 gram bottle, which will last quite a long time. Like I've had this bottle for months, and I've only used like less than a quarter of it, because you really just need like a few rolls on your skin, and that will last for a day sometimes, I mean even longer. And especially if it goes on your clothes, it's going to last even longer as well. And sandalwood is, of course, famous for its calming properties, its meditative properties, and just how it's able to really invoke a sense of, calmness and more of like a spiritual dimension. I think Gandhi, when he died, his funeral pyre was like literal tons of sandalwood. And then there's, temples that are built and that are carved entirely out of sandalwood. Do you have new teas available? Yes, if you go to the website, I've just posted up 2 new 80s teas, which is what I was about to get to now, which is I posted 1980s Liu-Bao that is made from spring tips, which is pretty rare because usually Liu-Bao is a much lower grade and like kind of a coarse chop of leaf material, whereas this is made from high grade spring buds, which is rare. And the second is a 1980s Sheng, which is made also from like imperial tips and buds. So if you're familiar with Silver Needle, which is like very white tea made from buds, this is an even smaller, finer bud size that is a really high grade, and usually a pu'er tea is not made from this because obviously it takes a lot of a lot of these tips and buds to make a little bit of tea. So it's a really high grade tea that we were able to source from a private collector, and because we got it at a good price, I'm able to offer it at a good price, even though it is a very rare and a very like world-class kind of tea in terms of flavor profile and the overall quality of it. So both of those teas are up and available on the website, the 1980s Liu-Bao and the 1980s Lotus Flavor Sheng Pu'er. And I highly recommend checking out both of those and grabbing a bag or two. And I'm going to be adding even more teas coming up over the next month. I have something I can show you briefly, which is actually based on people's questions. And I think probably your questions in particular at the Baller. So what this is a 2006 pu'er from Laobanjiang, which is like the most famous region for pu'er tea. It is called the King of Pu'er tea. And I was able to get a few tongs of cakes to be able to offer at a pretty insane price. And the tea is incredibly good. Yeah, so basically my plan is to sell most of it as a full cake. So it's a 400-gram cake, and I have them now, so if you want to buy them now, you can. Otherwise, you'll have to wait a few weeks until it gets on the website. But if you want to send me an email, then I can just send you an invoice and then mail it to you from my place and get you the cake probably early next week. If you wanted to email tonight or today, then I can probably ship it tomorrow, get it out Saturday, and then you'll have it if you're in the US by like Tuesday, Wednesday at the latest. And basically it's a 400-gram cake, and I'm gonna sell it for probably like $140, which if you look around online and try to find Laobanjiang, you're not gonna be able to find much. And the only sites that are actually selling it are selling an ounce for $100 and something. So I'm selling a 400-gram cake for about that price, which is pretty crazy. And basically how that's able to happen is this. Basically, one factory owns about 80% of all the tea trees and all the land in Laobanjiang. So they control all of that raw material, and they're able to basically inflate the price to a pretty excessive degree because, you know, it's a name brand and it's a name brand factory, so everyone wants it and there's a limited supply. So, of course, the price gets artificially inflated, as is true with many sort of trendy and famous teas. However, the remaining 20% of people there are not owned by that factory, so they're able to produce high quality tea and more so do what they want and operate under their own pricing. So we have a direct source and a direct connection with someone there who was not under the umbrella of that factory, so we're able to source really high grade stuff at a really incredible price. So basically what I've done with that Laobanjiang is I'll brew 4 or 5 grams, usually for like 2 hours. I can just keep brewing and brewing and brewing, and it is like very sedative and psychoactive. Like I was drinking it with a friend, and about halfway through, we were both having trouble formulating our sentences, and we're really kind of struggling to be coherent, and just we're pretty laid out. And after about 2 hours, we kind of just had to throw in the towel because we were just tired. So that's quite a lot of brewing power, and the cake is 2006, but it's still green and fresh, because with tea of this caliber, they usually like to preserve those characteristics. But any harshness that ever could have been there is totally matured, and it's all gone because it's completely sweet and smooth, and the flavor lasts a long time, and the feel of it is really smooth, and it brews for a very long time. So it is really high quality tea that I'll also be selling very soon. And then I have some high quality oolongs that I'll be selling, and probably some more 80s teas that I'll be rolling out as well. Just because I can source a lot of really amazing stuff. So I'd like to be able to share that at a, pretty reasonable, a pretty good price. So that is what is new on the tea front. Also I have the Agar 35, the Semda, sandalwood oil. I just posted the incense back in stock. I'm actually going to be sourcing and adding even more incense at a later date. And I completely overhauled and upgraded the quality of a lot of my, I think like 5 or 6 of my products. And then I have even more new products in the works, and potentially a whole new product line. So it's going to be kind of an exciting next few months. And hopefully my new website will be done soon as well, so I could hopefully launch that by Christmas or by the end of the year. So that would be that would be nice as well. What was I going to say? Let's see here. Yeah, so if you want to get that Lao Banjong cake, just send me an email from the website, and I can get you an invoice and get the cake over to you ASAP. And I can include some samples of other teas and stuff that I have around here. Do I have any digestive formulas in the works? Really loved your transformed formula. Not yet, but it is perhaps on the list. I honestly feel like the Semda and the Agar 35 help with digestion, because if you relax and your mind is more stable and calm, then your digestion will generally improve. For example, I had someone email me and say that their digestion improved just from the agarwood incense, because it helped them chill out to such a large degree. So I think a lot of times people's digestive issues are mental, emotional. That stress and tension just gets wound up, and then it's reflected in the digestive system. So right now I'm drinking a 90s old tree cake, and I've been exploring a lot more 90s cakes over the past couple of weeks. Stuff all that's old tree, and really quite nice actually. Because usually I just stick to the 70s and 80s. And there's a 70s tea that I was enjoying for a while, but the cake was like $600-700 at wholesale. Like at wholesale discounted price, it was that price. So I was like, yeah, I don't know if I really want to buy this cake. But I also have some 80s Leo Bao and some Leo On and stuff like that I've been drinking around. But I just ordered a bunch of 90s cakes that should be here sometime next week. So depending on how that goes, I might add those to the website as well, but definitely I'm going to be adding some really high-grade oolongs and some other pu'er teas as well, because I really want to broaden out that category and get a lot more offerings on there, and also just have them in stock on a regular basis. So yeah, I think that's basically everything I really wanted to say about the new products. I guess one other thing I can say is that the He Xiao Wu extract that is currently out of stock on my website and has been out of stock for a few weeks, which is unfortunate, but there was some pretty annoying customs delays and other shipping issues with that order, even though I ordered it like 6 weeks ago. But the good news is that I've really upgraded that extract, and it will be even more potent and effective for basically like the same price. So my current, or I guess previous, He Xiao Wu extract was a 16-to-1 hot water extract. And this new one that I'll be rolling out is a 20-to-1 alcohol and ethanol extract, so a 20-to-1 dual extract from roots that are 5 to 6 years old. So it's going to be an even stronger, more potent product for basically about the same price. And honestly, I had been working on this for a while because the supplier that I had been using for my He Xiao Wu for like 8 years, the first few years I started using it, the stuff they had was like beyond reproach. There was nothing that anyone had anywhere that could compare to it. The flavor, the effects, the color, just the raw materials they were using was like incredible. But over the years, it's kind of like varied up and down. Sometimes we would get the high grade, like super good stuff, and then other times the raw material, just due to seasonal variations, would not be quite what I had wanted. Granted, it was all good because the quality control measures are all there, so like from a spec basis, it still was the same ratio and had the same amount of chemicals. But for me, I also started to not really care for the flavor. The bitterness and the astringency would sometimes be too strong, and it didn't have like the salty, nutty, kind of like earthy notes that I had grown to really enjoy about that herb. So this new extract still is more potent, but the flavor, in my opinion, is actually better, and it has more of those salty, kind of nutty, earthy notes, and not as harsh of a bitter or astringency, which to me is how I like it and how more so I think it should be. So basically the extract is better across the board and stronger for basically the same price. So that's basically what I'm going to be doing more so over the next few months with a lot of different products. So stay tuned next week, and I'll be rolling out that new He Xiao Wu extract, and be pretty excited to get that out there and get it into people's hands and start getting more feedback on it, because I think it's pretty incredible, and I think people will really enjoy it as well. So that's pretty much it. My plan also too is to start actually cranking out more regular videos and be like a regular YouTuber again. The only reason I haven't been as active over the last 6 to whatever months is just a lot of changes in my personal life and within myself, and lifestyle things, and also to be honest, I just find a lot of the internet and a lot of the industry and a lot of social media just to be kind of unpleasant and off-putting. So I often find myself not wanting to be on there because I just see like kind of phony person after phony person and scam after scam and just facade after facade, and it just kind of gets to be a bit old, and it's not like the healthiest space to really exist in or relate to, so I just tend to avoid it. And then like I don't really portray myself as any kind of expert or guru or coach or any things like that, and I don't really feel that personally comfortable with those labels. Um, so of course, then obviously to go on YouTube or go on the internet as an authority is a little bit slightly of a contradiction. So it's basically, just trying to reorient myself and also find my passion for the whole thing, because I've been cranking out YouTube videos since like 2009. So we're looking at over 10 years at this point. And, I've changed a lot. The internet's changed a lot. The world's changed a lot. So it's just finding a way of, rekindling the passion and the intention that motivated everything in the beginning. So, maybe I'll keep cranking them out, but it just kind of depends, because a lot of times, I just find myself not really wanting to interact with the world or spend much time on social media. But also on the flip side, at the end of the day, these things are all just tools, and a tool is just a reflection of the person using it. So ultimately, you can use it for however you deem necessary. So that's kind of where I'm at and where I've not been as active. But perhaps, moving forward in the future, I will aim to be more active, and I already have a bunch of videos mapped out and a lot of things planned, let's say. I really like your vids. Are you going to do some more on Qigong? Yeah, I definitely could, but there's just like a lot of theory that could be discussed because it's a very deep subject. So I could do like loads and loads on that. Part of it is that, I'm training 3-4 hours a day, every day. So that takes up a lot of time and energy. And because some things basically how the internet works is the vast majority of the people that are online teaching are not actually doing, or what they're doing and teaching is pretty non-existent, minimal. It's just like a combination of fantasy, make-believe, wishful thinking, superstition, choreographed movements, forced deep breathing or hyperventilation, or basically something that's just putting more stress and tension in their nervous system, but it's under the facade of being something different. So it just becomes this whole clusterfuck of nonsense that I generally don't really want to participate in, to be completely honest. I'd kind of rather exist in my world and actually do things and try to develop skill and try to be precise and accurate with things, not just spout vague nonsense on the internet like a lot of the industry. It's oftentimes just an ongoing joke between me and a lot of my friends, is sending whatever clown we have come across on social media to each other and just kind of making fun of the facade or whatever it is, which is, whatever. So, I could do tons of those videos for sure, and I have done them. And but in terms of teaching or actually demonstrating specific things, it's a bit trickier to do online. It's a much more of a in-person type thing, because it's generally you're going to do it wrong, because the presupposition of trying to learn something is that you don't know how to do it. So if you don't know how to do it, then you don't really know how to know when you're doing it right. So basically, this is where people are trapped. Meaning, I did this and I felt this, so it must be right. No, if you do anything, you're going to feel something. If you just breathe and put your mind somewhere in your body, you'll feel tingly, you'll feel something, because it's just stimulating your nervous system. So what people do is be like, oh, that's chi, or that's energy, or that's something profound, so then I'm doing it correct. Well, it's no, you just are stimulating your nervous system, and that's it. you could do that a ton of different ways. It doesn't really have anything to do with qigong or anything that's going to build any type of skill or actually build any type of health. So yeah, I mean, long story short, I could, and maybe I will more in the future, but yeah, that's that's my experience of it. It's just much better to do in person, to learn from someone, and yeah. So yeah, if there's, do you find that the law of attraction is a big industry? It's a big industry in terms of these people are making lots of money. Definitely, there's definitely lots of people in that space. I personally do not pay any attention to that space. I found it pretty interesting when I was very young and naive. That's not to say there aren't useful or helpful things to be gleaned from some of that industry, but it's things that you could basically learn in 5 or 10 minutes, not 5 or 10 or 20 years, which is the amount of time that a lot of people are stuck in it. And basically just makes people kind of superstitious. And yeah, I mean, it's just kind of one of those things that's kind of a joke. It honestly literally is a joke between me and my friends. We also, send each other these types of things as a joke quite frequently. But there is obviously some truth to the power of your perception, the power of what you pay attention to, the power of your thoughts, the power of thinking more consciously, making more conscious decisions, being more present to your life, paying attention to the internal and the external world and how they might sync up. Those are all kind of obvious. There's some truth to that, yes, obviously. But, a lot of it also too is just stuff people are like literally just making up. And it's kind of just it's a business that runs on people's hope, their fear, their naive notions of the world, and just kind of flat out superstition. Like I can think of 2 people that I know, which I've told this story before. I have one friend who has started and run and sold multiple companies for millions of dollars at a young age, and never did any law of attraction or self-help or visualization or goal setting or vision boarding or seminars or motivation. Never did any of it. I have another friend who's a complete junkie for that stuff and has been about to succeed and about to create their dream world for about 10 years, but yet is still basically doing the same thing, if not actually worse off, like legit swindling people, legit scamming people for money, legit like doing dishonest things, but under the guise of being spiritual and mastery and all this nonsense. So I mean, I did all of the law of attraction and self-help stuff, and then I stopped doing it so that I could actually devote that time to actually building a business and actually doing things to more so lead to the outcome that I wanted. Because let's say you have 2 hours of time. Well, you could spend that time daydreaming and vision boarding and doing your gratitude list and etc. Or you could do a few things, or even just one thing that will more so actually lead to the outcome that you want. So yeah, that's kind of my opinion on that. Yeah. Basically how this stuff works is there's some sort of implicit truth to life, that there's like a grain of truth to what a lot of these types of things are putting out, whether it's the law of attraction or charlatan spirituality or any variation on these types of schemes, there's always this sort of thread of truth that is then exaggerated and embellished and blown up to a large degree with superstition, fantasy, manipulating people's hopes, and then all weaved together. But then the critical thinking and the actual logic and mechanics is shrouded by those things, so that it ends up being basically a really profitable hamster wheel for some people, and a less profitable hamster wheel for the people at the bottom. So yeah, that is what I think. Your thoughts about it, Qigong, are very interesting. Well, my thoughts about Qigong aren't like my personal opinion. Most of the time, it's like what the actual teaching is. It's like saying, it's like if people were saying they wanted to lift weights, like, right? They want to put on muscle. They want to make their biceps bigger. But the way they're doing that is by fasting and, I don't know, taking a walk. And then I come along and say, well, the way to make your biceps bigger is to stress the muscle through A, B, and C directly, and then allow time for rest and recovery and repeat that process over time. And then someone says, wow, that's a really fascinating opinion on this subject. It's like, well, no, that's just literally what it is. Like, or I guess someone's like, I want to become a concert pianist, and I'm going to do that by swimming. It's like, well, swimming is swimming, and being a concert pianist is being a concert pianist. Like, the words literally are what they are and mean literally what they refer to. Like, it is what it is. So people talk about Qigong, like it's the same type of thing. It is literally just one thing, and it is literally just one specific thing, which is what it is. But everyone's like, well, but is it this? But is it that? But I read it's this. But I heard it's that. But I thought it was this. But I thought it was that. Like, people get carried away and all this stuff, but like they don't actually have what the thing actually means and any type of like understanding or skill set within that. So they're operating on that same basis of like, wow, I'm really good at Qigong, but I'm actually just doing everything that is not that, but I'm good at it. It's like, no, I mean, so it just really gets quite confusing to me, and it's also why I generally prefer to not speak about those types of things, because the amount of confusion and misinformation is profound, and I just find it easier to not even get into it with people, because for people, oftentimes these types of things aren't about what they're about. They're about insecurity, they're about their self-image, they're about feeling cool or special or different or unique, or expressing their fantasies, or basically being blood deficient, or like somehow in the end making themselves less healthy is what it really becomes about. It's not like if you want to learn mathematics, the way I look at it is you're just going to learn mathematics because you need to accomplish something with it. So learning math isn't going to be like, well, it's going to make me special, and it's going to allow me to like live out all these fantasies, and it's going to make me feel like I'm a special person, and I'm different, and I'm unique, and I'm cool, and all this grandiose ideas. It's like, well, no, I need to learn this thing so I can accomplish A, B, and C with it. To me, Qigong, or things that people are lumping into spirituality, is exactly the same thing. You have a goal, you have an end, and you require means to get to that end. That's it. But therein lies the challenge. Like, the hardest thing is to actually just do whatever the thing actually is. Which sounds like, oh, that's so deep. But it really isn't. It's just the situation. Like, to actually just do the thing and not the things that are not the thing is really quite challenging. Yeah, and that is also part of the process. But the thing is people are not willing to be wrong. They're not willing to admit errors and subsequently correct the errors. They're not willing to admit, wow, I don't know what I'm talking about. I know nothing about this. So at a certain point, you have to be comfortable with, like, sucking, with not being good, with all the uncomfortable struggles and fumbling around in the dark. Like, there's things, very simple things, that, like, I would work on daily for years and not really succeed at. And then years later, it finally clicks, and I'm like, dude, finally. And this is like a really simple, basic mechanic. And I don't consider myself particularly stupid or unmotivated, right? But this is just how things work and what is required. And that is, it's not like this is a true thing for Qigong because it's like magical and otherworldly and all this nonsense. It's just inherent with developing skill in anything, which I think is why so few people actually do it. So I don't know. And I honestly don't recommend it. Like, I think people are better off just exercising and, like, riding a bike and running and swimming and doing saunas and just regular stuff. Like, don't waste your time with things like Qigong or internal arts, because unless you're going to throw in 3 to 5 years to actually get good at it and actually develop the benefits, you're not really going to get the benefits, and it's kind of the worst and dumbest exercise that a person could do, and a tremendous waste of time and energy, which sounds harsh, but is unfortunately just the case, which is why so many people are just flapping their arms and stressing their diaphragm and their breathing apparatus. But anyways, that's a fucking long rant, so I apologize. What do you think about light therapy? I think it can be useful and beneficial. I have a red light doodad in my apartment that I use from time to time, and I think it feels pretty good. And I used to go and do this thing called the Novathor bed on a fairly regular basis. And I've actually recommended the Novathor to quite a lot of clients that I've talked to, because sometimes people will, like, want an herb for, like, the most non-herb related things. Like, oh, I have this hip pain and this impingement in my back. What herb should I take? It's like, well, you might want to address your physiology and your biomechanics directly. Like, yeah, it's weird. I have this experience frequently where people will approach me to want to buy something, and I tell them not to buy something. Like, someone was like, oh, what herbs do you have for, like, liver health? And I was like, well, what do you mean? They're like, oh, well, I have this, this, and this going on. And I'm like, well, you shouldn't buy anything from my website, because none of them are going to help what you have going on. That could actually make it worse. And what you need to do is this, this, and this. And they were like, okay, but what about this herb? And I'm like, yeah, don't buy it. Like, don't take it. It's not going to help what you have going on. And they're like, all right, I guess, okay, sure. All right, well, thanks for your time. I was like, okay, cool. Sorry I couldn't, like, sell you something, but, you know, I just have to be honest with you and tell you what I actually think would help you. And I'm not in the conscious to lie and be like, oh, totally, here's what you should buy, which is what a lot of companies do, because I've talk to clients. They're like, yeah, I got off the phone with so-and-so at this company, and they wrote this whole program for me and told me I needed to buy these 5-6 products and gave me this whole thing. And I'm like, wait, for that? I'm like, I don't think that's really gonna help. But it just shows to me that whoever they talk to doesn't really have much understanding in terms of health or the body. They probably are operating at like learning about Jing Qi and Shen online and then thinking they're like a certified medical practitioner because they're like, oh, you just got to build your Jing. Just got to build the Jing. Yeah, just build the Jing and it's going to help all your problems. It's like, for one, that's not what that means. Jing isn't even like that, and some herbs are not really going to be helpful in certain situations. So this is leading me back to Novathor. Like people will be like, oh, I got this like inflammation in my, I don't know, leg or something. I can't remember exactly what they said, but it's like chronic inflammation. And I was like, well, I don't think really herbs are going to be that useful. Maybe after a while, it will probably reduce systemic inflammation to a certain degree, but you're dealing with something specific like that, hit up the Novathor bed. This red light therapy and the near infrared will break up inflammation and stimulate ATP production, all these things much more quickly, easily, and efficiently than like trying to, Dr. Google yourself, basically. So yeah, long story short, I think red light therapy and light therapy in general can be helpful and can be useful. In Chinese medicine, it is known that all disease stems from the mind. How does the mind affect health compared to, say, diet and exercise? They're all important and useful. Like, yeah, you should do them. And it is kind of they don't say that all disease stems from the mind because, like, what if you got hit by a car? What if you're born with a congenital weakness? What if your parents were crackheads and you have a disease and an organ imbalance as a result? That's not necessarily like your mind in the sense that we understand it. So it's kind of a simplification. But in the sense that if your mind is in a contracted state and in a stressful, negative state, that will be reflected in your body and in your organs in a pretty specific and predictable way. So that's more so what they mean. It's not quite as simple as like, well, if you have good thoughts and be a nice person, then you'll be healthier. It's not really what it means at all. It's actually more looking at the quality of various aspects of your mind and various ways of relating to the emotions. And basically, yeah, diet and exercise are really important and should not be overlooked. So hopefully that answers that question to a certain degree. Opinion on SSRIs. I don't really have a opinion on it. I mean, actually, I guess I do. I don't have an opinion, but here's my opinion. Obviously certain situations can be helpful, can be useful, but obviously is not my sphere of influence or expertise because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, so I'm not an expert or really even someone who can talk about pharmaceuticals. That's something that should be between a patient and a doctor, someone who is legally allowed to prescribe such things. But just on a personal basis, I'm not against it. I know some people in the alternative health world might be like completely against all drugs and completely against Western medicine. I think that's kind of dumb and short-sighted and just a little bit confrontational. Obviously, there's situations where these types of things can be useful and helpful and help people, do A, B, and C. Personally, I would not take them, and I don't. None of my friends take them. I've met women that were on them and, didn't want to date them for those reasons. Just because from what I've experienced, there's a certain kind of vacuity that I've noticed certain people have when they're on certain mood-altering drugs. There's a certain quality in their eyes and their sense of self that to me is noticeable and apparent that I don't really wish to be that intimate with, or be that intimate in my own self with. So that's my opinion on it. But in terms of what you should or shouldn't do, that's really up to you and your doctor. So hopefully that was helpful in some way. Let me see what time it is here. Nice. So if there's any other questions, let me just see here. Sorry, I'm just peeping my email right now. Doing a bit of multitasking, awaiting if there's going to be any other questions. Otherwise, I'll probably head out, and I got to eat some lunch, actually. It's almost 3 p.m. But I just wanted to, pop on real quick because I haven't done it in a while, and answer some questions, talk about new stuff, and yeah, should be good. Let me see. I know that someone answered about tea earlier, but I wasn't here when he answered. So you're planning on putting more teas on Hyperion? Yes. So basically, I've just posted up 2 new teas. A 1980s Liu made from spring tips, and a 1980s Sheng Pu'er made from even higher grade, very fine tips and buds. And I have write-ups on both of those teas. So if you go to the website, you'll see it on the home page. And both of those teas are up. They are available, and they are ready to ship out. I've just posted them up, and they are really, really good teas. From there, I'm going to be adding at least 2 or 3 more teas over the next few weeks, and my plan is to keep adding more things and keep expanding out the product line with teas and just in general other products, and all the while keeping it between the $20 to $25 an ounce price range. So the next tea will be a pretty awesome Taiwanese oolong, which is like super, super high grade. Like very good. Let's see. Do you have any of the agarwood oil available? If so, could you quickly discuss its benefits? Yeah, if you want to get a bottle of that, then just send me an email through the website, and I can send you an invoice and get that over to you. And I happen to have some of the oil here, and there's probably a couple people on this live stream that have a bottle of it, so they could probably chime in and share a little bit about what they think. But in general, that's good. In general, the health benefits to me are more mental, emotional type things. I just get a really good, it just does really good things to your mind and your emotional state, smelling this kind of aroma. And then even once it's on your skin, the aroma is going to develop and unfold over the course of 8 to 12 hours. Like if I put this on before bed for about half the next day or thereabouts, I'm still smelling it on my skin, and the aroma is changing and developing. It's going to start off with more of a citrusy, woody, perfumey type note, and then over time that will change and get more incensey, and then in the end it has this nice woody type dry down. So, it really has the mental, emotional type calming effects, and I would say that, and just the pleasure of it and smelling it and having it around, it just has a good feeling to it. And that's what I would say. But if you want more info or you want to order a bottle, just email through the website. And I think I had a video in a write-up that I had done before that I can send over to you. And then I can get you a bottle if you'd like. And maybe someday I'm planning to sell it more widespread and publicly on the website. But once I do that, I'll sell it at more of the retail price. Whereas presently, when people still order in that situation, I'm offering it at the discounted kind of private introductory price, which is far below market value for that caliber of oil, which is like really, 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 really good. So anyways, I gotta get some lunch and get off here before it gets too late, and it's gonna get dark probably in like an hour or two. So anyways, thanks for tuning in for this random and impromptu and unscripted live stream. Again, posted 2 new teas, marked the incense back in stock, posted the sandalwood oil on the website, and also the Semda, which is this counter sister product to the Agar 35, which is going to work more on the lungs and work more on depression and uplifting the mood. I highly recommend doing both side by side. They work very synergistically. And the sandalwood oil I have here, I will put up more of a detailed write-up, and I will post pictures of the bottle. I just kind of need to finish that write-up and need to get the pictures edited. I just put it up on the website because I knew I'd be talking about it on this, and I just wanted to at least get it up there so that I would remember to finish the rest of the stuff. But everything else is good to go, and I'm going to be adding a lot more new products over the next month, and I'll be adding a bunch more stuff back in stock next week. The nettle, the polyrachis, the Hisha Wu will all be back in stock next week, and the Hisha Wu will be upgraded quite dramatically, which I had talked about earlier, but I'll send out an email next week and do a video and, you know, extrapolate all the stuff out. But anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And fortunately, the live stream actually didn't freeze for once. So look at that. Anyways, I will talk to you soon.